Hey Reddit, my name's Alex, and I always thought my life was pretty standard. I'm a software engineer, living in a quiet neighborhood of Riverton, and I've been married to my wife, Emily, for a decade. Together, we have an 8-year-old son, Liam, who, up until recently, I believed was the heart of our little family. I say believed because a few weeks ago, everything I thought I knew about my marriage collapsed like a house of cards. It all began so harmlessly. One evening, Emily came home practically glowing and told me about an exclusive party being hosted by her old college friend, Caroline. She described it as a high-end networking event, something classy and sophisticated. Caroline, apparently, had become a big name in the fashion industry and loved throwing lavish parties to flaunt her success. Emily seemed excited, almost too excited. And though she brushed it off, insisting that I didn't need to come because I wouldn't know anyone there, and that it was more of a girls' night vibe, something in her tone unsettled me. I tried to ignore it. Emily had always been social, and I never wanted to be the clingy husband. But the way she avoided my eyes when she spoke about the event stayed with me. Over the following days, her enthusiasm grew obsessive. She spent hours glued to her phone, texting someone, probably Caroline, I assumed, and even bought a new dress that she refused to show me. "You'll see it when I wear it," she teased, dismissing my curiosity with a nervous laugh. That week, I noticed other changes too. Normally, Emily shared every little detail of her day with me, but now she was distant. Too distant. She stepped out of the room to take private calls, brushed off my questions with just work stuff, and seemed to exist in a different world entirely. The night of the party arrived. Emily emerged from our bedroom wearing a sleek black dress, her hair cascading in soft waves, crimson lipstick painting her lips, a bold choice I hadn't seen in years. She looked breathtaking. She looked like the woman I'd fallen for all those years ago. But beneath my admiration was that gnawing question. Who was she trying to impress? I offered to drive her to the party, but she declined quickly. "Oh no, that's fine," she said, almost too fast. "Caroline's sending a car for me. She's arranging transportation for everyone." That hesitation, that unnecessary detail, set off alarm bells. Emily wasn't the type to refuse a ride from me, especially if it meant avoiding the hassle of calling a car. Still, I kissed her cheek, watched her disappear into the night, and told myself to stop being paranoid. I lasted about an hour. I tried distracting myself with a show, but I couldn't shake the sense that something was wrong. Maybe it was how she'd been avoiding my questions all week, or maybe it was the nervous excitement in her voice whenever she mentioned the party. Either way, it didn't feel right. Then, around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed with a message from my friend Chris, who works as a bouncer at one of the trendier clubs downtown. The message was short. "Hey man, isn't this Emily?" Attached was a photo. My heart sank. In the picture, Emily was standing in a packed nightclub, not some elegant house party. She was laughing, cocktail in hand, surrounded by strangers. Worse yet, she looked flirtatious. Her body language was relaxed, leaning slightly toward a man who was standing far too close. And this was definitely not the girls' night she'd described. I stared at that image for what felt like hours. Why had she lied about where she was going? Who were those people? And who was he? I wanted to call her immediately, demand an explanation, but something stopped me. Pride? Fear? Maybe both. Instead, I decided I'd wait until she got home to confront her. Midnight came and went. Then 12:30. Still no Emily. I called her, straight to voicemail. By 1 a.m., I was pacing the living room, imagining every possible scenario. Was she okay? In trouble? Or doing something I couldn't bring myself to admit? Finally, I snapped. I couldn't sit around waiting any longer. I grabbed my keys, pulled up the address of Caroline's place that Emily had mentioned earlier in the week, and drove out into the cold night. The streets of Riverton were quiet, but my mind was anything but. I replayed every interaction from the past month, every lie, every evasive glance. Was I overreacting? Maybe the photo wasn't as bad as it looked. Maybe she was networking, just like she said. But if that were true, why lie? Why the secrecy? Caroline's house was easy to find, a sprawling glass and stone mansion on the edge of town. Emily wasn't kidding about it being fancy. Cars lined the street, but there wasn't an Uber in sight. My heart sank again. Had she been ashamed of me? Of her IT guy husband in his beat-up Toyota? Music pulsed through the walls as I approached. Guests in designer suits and glittering gowns mingled on the front lawn, champagne glasses in hand. This wasn't a girls' night. This was a scene, the kind of gathering where image was everything. I walked inside, and it was like stepping into another world. Marble floors, chandeliers, a bar staffed by uniformed bartenders. I scanned the room for Emily but saw no sign of her. "Can I help you?" I turned to see a woman who looked like she'd stepped off a magazine cover. She eyed me up and down, my jeans and jacket clearly out of place. "Yeah," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm looking for Emily Parker." Her expression flickered. Recognition? Before she forced a polite smile. "I think I saw her upstairs with Caroline, but that's a private area. Guests need a wristband." Restricted? What kind of party was this? I thanked her and moved toward the staircase, but she stepped in front of me again. "It's invite only," she repeated, sugary sweet but firm. Before I could respond, I heard Emily's laugh, light, carefree, and unfamiliar, drifting down from the second floor. My stomach twisted. I didn't care about the wristband. I was going up there. I slipped past her when she turned to greet another guest and climbed the stairs. The music was softer up here, the lights dimmer, the conversations more intimate. And then I saw her. Emily sat on a velvet sofa, angled toward a man I didn't recognize. He leaned close, whispering something that made her laugh. That laugh that used to be reserved for me. I stayed in the shadows, watching. Part of me wanted to stay calm, gather facts. The other part, the hurt, betrayed part, wanted to walk over and demand answers. Caroline spotted me first, her smile tightening as she approached. "Alex, what a surprise," she said, her tone fake sweet. "I wasn't invited," I said flatly. Emily still hadn't noticed me, too busy with Mr. Perfect Haircut. "But I figured I'd check on my wife." Caroline's smile faltered. "Emily's having a great time. You should join us downstairs." I ignored her. "Who's the guy?" Caroline hesitated. "That's Noah, an old friend. Don't worry, Emily's in good hands." Good hands. My blood boiled. "Thanks. I'll take it from here." I stepped into the room. Emily's eyes widened. Shock, guilt, panic, before she plastered on a fake smile. "Alex, what are you doing here?" "Just wanted to see how your girls' night was going," I said, my voice like glass. She stood quickly, smoothing her dress. "It's not what it looks like. I can explain." "Explain," I cut her off. "Explain how a girls' night turned into this." Her mouth opened and closed, searching for words. "Noah's an old friend, that's all." "Funny," I said coldly, "how you forgot to mention him. Funny how this party isn't at Caroline's house but in a nightclub. Funny how you've been lying for weeks." Emily glanced around nervously. "Can we talk somewhere private?" "No," I snapped. "We'll talk here, in front of your new friends." I turned to Noah. "And you? Who the hell are you really?" He smirked. "Relax, man. Emily and I were just catching up. No harm done." No harm? I barked. Then why does she look like she's been caught cheating? Emily grabbed my arm. Alex, stop. You're making a scene. Oh, I'm making a scene? I laughed bitterly. You lied about everything. And now I find you cozying up to a guy I've never met. If anyone's making a scene, it's you. Her cheeks flushed crimson. Caroline vanished into the crowd. Noah leaned back, still smirking. Emily's voice trembled. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything because I knew you'd overreact. Overreact? I hissed. You told me this was a girls' night, and now you're here laughing and whispering with him. Her lips quivered. Noah's just an old friend from college. That's all. An old friend, sitting close enough to be in your lap, I spat. Do you expect me to believe this is innocent? She looked to Noah for support, but he only shrugged. That glance, that quick, guilty glance, was all the confirmation I needed. I'm done playing games, I said. You can either tell me the truth now, or I'll start asking around. I'm sure someone here knows more than you're admitting. Her face paled. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Please, Alex, she whispered. Let's leave. I'll explain everything at home. No, I said firmly. You'll explain now. Because if I leave without answers, I'm not coming back. The room fell silent. Everyone was watching. Emily looked trapped, her composure crumbling. Finally, she sighed. Fine, she whispered, but not here. Let's go somewhere private. I hesitated, then nodded. Lead the way. She led me to a small side lounge. As soon as the door closed, I folded my arms. Start talking, I said coldly. And don't you dare lie again. Emily paced the little lounge, heels tapping a nervous metronome against the tile. She looked equal parts guilty and defiant, as if she couldn't decide whether to confess or double down. Finally, she stopped and faced me. Alex, I didn't want you to find out like this, she said, voice unsteady. It's not what it looks like. Then what is it? I asked, arms folded. Because right now, it looks like you've been sneaking around with a guy who is definitely not just an old friend. She bit her lip. Noah and I, we have history from college, but it's in the past. Nothing is happening now. In the past, I repeated, each syllable sharp. And you conveniently forgot to mention this when you were hiding texts and taking calls on the patio like a teenager. How stupid do you think I am, Emily? She flinched, but didn't deny it. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd react like this. You always think the worst. I let out a humorless laugh. You lied about where you were going, who you were with, and what kind of party this was. If I'm assuming the worst, it's because you handed it to me. She turned away, jaw tight, as if the truth pressed against her teeth and she was trying to keep it from escaping. Silence swelled between us. Unbelievable, I said softly, more to myself than to her. You're still not telling me the truth. Alex, Save it, I cut in. If you can't be honest now, we're already past fixing this. Her eyes pooled. Please, just give me a chance to explain. I stared at the door. I gave you chances. You blew every single one. I reached for the handle, but stopped when her voice cracked again. We ran into each other months ago, she blurted. Randomly. He messaged after. It felt harmless at first. I turned back slowly. Harmless, I repeated. And you didn't think I should know? It was just talking, she insisted, tears threatening. Catching up, that's it. Talking doesn't require lies, I said, stepping closer. So tell me straight, are you still in love with him? Her mouth opened, closed. The beat between words stretched into something heavy and final. That tiny, shattering pause was all the answer I needed. My stomach dropped. The edges of the room seemed to tilt. Emily, I said, My voice suddenly quiet. The anger cooled into something colder. Are you in love with him? It's not like that, she whispered. Then tell me what it is like, I said. Because from where I'm standing, you let him into a part of you that used to belong to us. She shook her head, as if she could dislodge the confession. I don't know how it happened. I didn't plan. Didn't plan what? I snapped. To meet him behind my back, to lie to my face, to make me feel insane for noticing? Her composure buckled. We met a few times, she admitted, voice small. Coffee. Talking. It wasn't supposed to mean anything. And yet, here we are, I said, every word a step backward from her. I could see Noah through the glass panel of the lounge door, lounging, amused, like this was a show. What's your role in this? I called through the crack as I pushed the door open. You here to stir the pot? Or to see if you can collect what isn't yours? He lifted his hands, that same smirk tugging at his mouth. This isn't the time, man. It became the time when you inserted yourself into my marriage. I glanced at Emily. And it became a disaster when you let him. Don't blame him, she said quickly, stepping between us. This is my fault. I let it happen. I think I still have feelings for him. It hit like a blunt instrument. I steadied myself against the doorframe, breath shuddering. Seconds passed, mean and unforgiving. You think, I echoed, or you know. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I straightened, something inside me cinching tight. Congratulations, I said, voice gone hoarse. You've managed to hurt me in a way I didn't think possible. She reached for my hand. I pulled back. Don't, I said. Don't touch me. Don't say another word. I'm leaving. Alex, please, she cried. We can work through this. I walked out, past the cluster of guests pretending not to stare, past Caroline's tight, brittle smile, down the staircase, and out into the chilled Riverton air. The cold bit through my jacket, but I barely felt it. All I could feel was the hollow where trust used to be. I sat in the car for a long time, knuckles bleaching around the steering wheel. The conversation looped, ragged, relentless. The woman I'd built a life with had kept a door open to someone else. Maybe she'd never closed it. I couldn't go home. Not yet. Home was supposed to be safe. The thought of unlocking that door and pretending to sleep in the bed we shared made my skin crawl. I drove, streets empty and silvered under streetlights. Eventually, I ended up outside Chris's apartment. He was one of the few who would tell me the truth and leave it unsweetened. I texted, "You up?" "Need to talk." His reply came fast. Doors open. He took one look at me and handed over a beer without a word. I told him everything. The photo, the mansion, the lounge, the confession. By the end, my voice was sandpaper and my chest a hollow box. Chris let out a low whistle. "That's brutal, man. I knew something was off the second I saw that pic, but... Damn. I don't even know who she is right now," I said. "And I don't know what to do." "I'm not going to tell you to leave or stay," he said, elbows on his knees. "But you need a plan. For you. And for Liam. If you let this just sit, it'll rot." He was right. I needed clarity more than anything. Not a fight. Not vengeance. Clarity. I crashed on his couch for a few hours. Gray light was pushing at the blinds when I headed home. Emily was in the living room, red-eyed and small. She stood when I walked in. "Alex, please, can we talk?" "We're going to," I said, sitting across from her. "But this time, you tell me everything. No edits, no protecting me. If there's any part you're still hiding, say it now." She swallowed, nodded. Then she started pulling threads. She told me Noah had messaged her months back, that they'd reconnected as friends, that she'd convinced herself it was harmless because nothing physical had happened. She swore it had only been conversation. Coffee, a handful of meetings. No kiss, no hotel rooms, no late-night rendezvous. Just words. Words can be worse than touch when they're the wrong words with the wrong person. You betrayed me, I said, voice cracking. Maybe you didn't sleep with him, but you let him into a space that used to be ours. Do you get what that does to someone? Tears slipped down her face. I was selfish. I thought I could handle it. I didn't think about how it would crush you. But I love you, Alex. I love our family. Please, give me a chance to fix this. I wanted to want that. I wanted to be someone who could say yes, who could graft trust back into place. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with him, felt the ice of the lounge in my lungs. I need time, I said at last. I don't know if I can forgive you. I don't even know if I want to try. Take all the time you need, she whispered. I'll do anything. Days stretched into weeks. The house was a quiet battlefield. Careful exchanges about schedules and school pickups, meals eaten in parallel. Liam's laughter the only honest sound. Emily tried. She cooked my favorites, left apologies on sticky notes, gave me space. I started seeing a therapist, not for reconciliation, for triage, to understand what was shattered and what, if anything, was salvageable. Here's what I learned. Trust isn't a door you reopen with a key. It's a scaffolding you build together, bolt by bolt. And when one person knocks it down, the other can't climb back up alone. One night after we put Liam to bed, Emily stood by the doorway, hands fidgeting. I know I don't deserve an answer, she said, voice tight. But I have to ask. Do we still have a chance? I looked at her, the ripple in her chin, the eyes I'd memorized, the stranger standing in the shape of my wife. I've turned it over from every angle, I said quietly. I can't get past it. I don't think I can trust you again. Her face fell, like someone had cut the strings holding her up. I'll do anything, she whispered. I love you. I love Liam. Please don't give up. I'm not giving up, I said. I'm refusing to live inside a question mark. It's not fair to either of us. And it's not what I want to model for our son. She nodded, breaking. So, what now? I think we should separate, I said. We'll figure out co-parenting and keep it civil for Liam. But I can't keep pretending. She didn't argue. Maybe she'd known for a while that this is where we were going to land. The logistics were awful. Lawyers, paperwork, dividing the furniture you never thought you'd list on a spreadsheet. But we promised each other two things. No mudslinging, and Liam stays the center. She found a small apartment across town, close enough for school routines. I learned the cadence of mornings alone. Toast popping, while lunchboxes clicked shut. Little shoelaces tied with clumsy dad knots. The drive to drop-off filled with dinosaur facts and questions about clouds. Time passed. The raw edges smoothed, not because the past changed, but because I did. I started running again, reached out to old friends I'd drifted from, learned to cook something besides the 3 meals I'd clung to like a uniform. I wasn't forgetting Emily. I was finding Alex. One afternoon, dropping Liam at Emily's new place, she paused at the door. I know it's late, she said, voice steady but sad. But I'm sorry. For all of it. I'll regret it for a long time. I hope you find peace, I said. For yours. And for his. We both glanced at Liam, busy strapping his action figure into a toy car. The sight was a reminder. Not everything had broken. Driving away, a thin, tentative sense of closure settled in. Not fireworks, not relief. Just a quieter road in front of me than the one behind. Months later, I met someone. Not a grand, cinematic rescue. Just Maya, a friend of a friend, at a weekend hiking group who laughed with her whole face and asked questions that didn't feel like tests. kind, uncomplicated, honest. We took it slow. I was careful, borderline cautious, afraid of building anything I couldn't maintain. But it felt right, like gratitude instead of adrenaline. Looking back at the wreckage, I can say this without bitterness. Emily's betrayal shattered the life I thought I couldn't live without, and forced me to build one I can stand on. I'm not grateful for the pain. I'm grateful I'm not the man who needed lies to feel secure. I'm grateful I can look my son in the eye and tell him the truth, even when it's hard. I still keep that first night tucked behind my ribs, the photo from Chris, the lounge, the confession. It reminds me to pay attention to the small signals, the hesitation before a sentence, the way a laugh shifts its address, the stories we tell ourselves to avoid saying what's true. It also reminds me that endings don't always announce themselves like thunderstorms. Sometimes they arrive as a whisper at a party you weren't invited to, and sometimes they're the first honest beginning you've had in years. The months after Emily and I separated were some of the strangest of my life. Everything that had once been automatic, waking up beside someone, sharing a morning coffee, trading stories about work, was now deliberate, scheduled, transactional. Our communication became a series of logistics, pickup times, doctor appointments, school events. All the little things that once made a marriage feel alive were stripped away, leaving only the bare bones of co-parenting. At first, I hated the silence. The house felt too big, too hollow. Liam's laughter would fill it for a weekend, and then it would vanish with him when Emily came to collect him on Sunday evenings. I would stand by the window and watch them drive away, and every time, a small part of me would question if I had made the right decision. Maybe we could have tried harder. Maybe therapy could have fixed it. Maybe, if I were more forgiving, our family could still exist. But then I'd remember the look on her face that night, the hesitation, the guilt, the silence when I asked if she still loved him. And I'd realize that even if we had stayed together, something fundamental had already died. It wasn't just trust. It was the version of us that had believed we were invincible. And once that was gone, there was no bringing it back. I threw myself into being the best father I could be. Liam was the one thing that hadn't changed, the one anchor in the storm. He was too young to understand the complexities of betrayal and heartbreak, but he knew something had shifted. He would ask questions sometimes. Why don't you and Mommy live together anymore? And I would answer honestly but gently. Because grown-ups sometimes stop being happy together. But we both love you more than anything, and that will never change. He seemed to accept that. Children are resilient in ways adults often aren't. Emily and I did our best to keep things civil for his sake. We attended school meetings together, sat side by side at his soccer games, even shared the occasional coffee after parent-teacher conferences. But there was always a distance, a quiet, unspoken understanding that we were no longer partners, just two people linked by a shared responsibility. Every so often, she'd try to reopen the conversation. "Do you think we could ever try again?" she asked once, about 6 months after the separation. We were standing in the hallway of Liam's school, waiting for him to come out of class. I shook my head. "I don't think so, Emily. Too much has happened. And even if we tried, I don't know if I'd ever be able to believe you again." She nodded, tears welling up but not falling. I understand. And I think she did. The strange thing was, I no longer felt angry when she said things like that. The rage, the bitterness, the resentment, they had all burned themselves out, leaving behind only a kind of sad acceptance. What was done was done. It was around that time that Maya and I started to grow closer. We'd been friends for a while, hiking, grabbing coffee, talking about books and movies. But one evening, something shifted. We were sitting on a park bench after a long walk, the sun dipping below the horizon, and she looked at me and said, "You don't talk about Emily much." I sighed. "That's because there's not much left to say." "Still," she said softly, "it must have been hard." "It was," I admitted. "It still is sometimes. I think the hardest part isn't losing her. It's losing the version of myself I was when I trusted her." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she reached over and squeezed my hand. "You're still here, though. That counts for something." It was such a simple thing, but it hit me harder than I expected. She didn't try to fix me or offer cliches about moving on. She just acknowledged the hurt. And in that small, silent gesture, something inside me began to heal. Our relationship didn't happen all at once. It was slow, deliberate, intentional. Two people who had both been hurt, learning how to trust again. There were moments when I almost sabotaged it, when I'd pull back for no reason, or question her honesty over something trivial. But Maya never got defensive. She just listened, understood, and reassured me that she was there because she chose to be, not because she needed to be. One evening, about a year after my separation, I introduced her to Liam. I'd been hesitant about it. I didn't want to confuse him or rush anything, but it felt like the right time. We went to the zoo, the three of us, and I watched as Maya crouched down to Liam's level, pointing excitedly at the lions and laughing when he insisted they were just big cats. Later that night, Liam asked me, "Is Maya your new girlfriend?" I hesitated for a moment before answering. "Yeah, buddy, she is," he smiled. "She's nice. I like her." It was such a small thing, but it meant everything. It meant that maybe, just maybe, our little family could still exist, even if it looked different now. Meanwhile, Emily seemed to be moving on too. She started dating someone new, a man named Ryan, and though I didn't know much about him, she seemed happy. I won't pretend it didn't sting the first time Liam mentioned Mommy's friend Ryan, but over time, that feeling faded too. I realized that just as I was building a new life, so was she. And maybe that was okay. Our co-parenting relationship gradually evolved into something resembling friendship. Not the kind we'd once had, but something quieter, more respectful. We celebrated Liam's birthdays together, attended school plays side by side, and even managed the occasional family dinner without tension. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. 2 years after the night everything fell apart, I found myself standing on the porch of a small cabin in the mountains, watching the sun rise with Maya beside me. Liam was asleep inside, curled up with his favorite dinosaur blanket after a weekend of hiking and roasting marshmallows. It was the kind of peaceful, grounded happiness I hadn't felt in years. "Do you ever think about her?" Maya asked softly, breaking the silence. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but not in the way I used to. It's more like remembering a chapter of a book I've already finished." Maya smiled. "And what chapter are you in now?" I looked out at the horizon, the morning light stretching over the trees, and for the first time, I felt like I had an answer. "The one where I stop surviving," I said, "and start living." The truth is, betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It breaks your sense of reality. It makes you question everything, your worth, your instincts, your memories. But if you let it, it can also rebuild you. It forces you to confront who you are without the person you thought you couldn't live without. And sometimes, that version of you, the one who walks through the fire and comes out the other side, is stronger than you ever imagined. Emily and I will always share a bond. We'll always be connected by Liam, by a decade of memories, by the life we once built together. But our story ended the night she chose someone else. And my story, the one that truly matters, began the day I chose myself. And if there's anything I've learned from all of this, it's that endings aren't failures. They're beginnings in disguise. They're proof that even when the ground crumbles beneath you, you can still stand. You can still love. You can still build something beautiful from the wreckage. Because the truth is, I didn't lose everything that night. I lost the illusion. I lost the lies. But I kept the most important thing: my son, my integrity, my capacity to love. And in the end, that's more than enough.